The bizarre hotel meeting that altered John Lennon's mind forever. New York City, 1974. Rain lashed against the windows of a forgotten hotel on the Upper West Side, its opulent facade crumbling under the relentless assault of time and neglect. Inside, in a secluded suite, John Lennon was about to encounter a figure so enigmatic, so profoundly unsettling, that the meeting would alter his mind forever. What transpired in those bizarre, hours-long moments, fueled by strange elixirs and unsettling prophecies, would leave him haunted by a disturbing truth about reality, perception, and the terrifying power of confronting one's own hidden self in the dead of night. The year is 1974. New York City, a colossus of steel and ambition, was a city of extremes, its glamour often overshadowed by a gritty, sometimes dangerous reality. For John Lennon, it was a city of contradictions, a place where he had sought both anonymity and creative rebirth, and found instead a turbulent, lost weekend, a period of separation from Yoko Ono, marked by personal excess, creative struggle, and a profound sense of being unmoored. He was 34 years old, and the weight of his own history pressed down on him with an almost physical force. The Beatles were a decade in the past, their dissolution a wound that had never fully healed. His solo career, while marked by moments of brilliance, often felt like a desperate search for a new identity, a new voice, a new way to exist in a world that still saw him primarily as a Beatle. He was adrift, creatively stalled, and spiritually searching. The spiritual paths he had explored in the late 60s, the Maharishi, Eastern mysticism, had offered glimpses of enlightenment, but none had provided the lasting peace he craved. He was a man perpetually seeking answers, perpetually pushing boundaries, perpetually looking for something beyond the surface of conventional reality. It was on a particularly desolate, rain-swept night in late autumn that the invitation arrived. Not a formal letter, not a phone call, but a small, unmarked envelope delivered by a silent messenger to his apartment on the Upper East Side. Inside, a single, elegantly calligraphed card. No return address, no name, just a time, a date, and an address. A suite in the Hawthorne Hotel, a grand, decaying edifice on the Upper West Side, a place whispered about more than visited, rumored to have once hosted presidents and movie stars, now a forgotten relic of a bygone era. The invitation was cryptic, unsettling, and utterly irresistible to John. He had always been drawn to the mysterious, the unconventional, the things that existed at the edges of polite society. He was a man who believed that truth often resided in the shadows, in the places where the light of conventional understanding did not quite reach. He did not know, stepping out into the rain-swept New York night, that he was walking into a meeting that would alter his mind forever. That the figure he was about to encounter, the words that would be spoken, the strange elixirs that would be consumed, would unlock something within him that he had never known existed, and leave him haunted by a disturbing truth about the nature of reality, the limits of perception, and the terrifying power of confronting one's own hidden self in the dead of night. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any of the exclusive content that's coming up. And while you're there, leave that powerful like. That helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The Hawthorne Hotel was a monument to faded glory. Its grand, decaying facade loomed over the Upper West Side, a relic of a bygone era of opulence and excess. Its lobby, once a glittering spectacle of marble and brass, was now dim and dusty, its velvet furnishings frayed, its gilded mirrors tarnished. The air was thick with the smell of old wood, stale tobacco, and the faint, metallic tang of forgotten dreams. John had always been sensitive to atmosphere, to the subtle energies that permeated certain spaces, and the Hawthorne, even in its derelict state, hummed with a particular, unsettling resonance. It felt alive, in a way that his sterile Upper East Side apartment did not. It felt like a place where secrets were kept, where truths were whispered in the shadows, waiting for someone to find them. He took the ancient, creaking elevator to the top floor, its brass cage rattling with each ascent. The corridors were dimly lit, lined with faded wallpaper and silent, closed doors. The only sound was the distant howl of the wind and the rhythmic drip of rain against the windows. It felt like walking into a dream, or perhaps a nightmare. The suite itself was vast, opulent, and strangely unsettling. Its furnishings were antique, heavy, and ornate, draped in velvet and silk, their colors muted by time. The air was thick with the scent of incense, spices, and something else, something indefinable, that hummed with a strange, almost electric energy. In the center of the room, seated on a low, intricately carved wooden chair, was the figure. He was an old man, his face a roadmap of wrinkles, his eyes dark and piercing, holding a depth of knowledge that seemed to stretch back through centuries. He wore simple, flowing robes of an indeterminate color, and his hands, gnarled with age, rested on a small, polished wooden table before him. On the table, a single, flickering candle, a bowl of dark, viscous liquid, and a deck of ancient, intricately illustrated cards. He did not introduce himself. He simply looked at John, his dark eyes piercing through the layers of fame and armor, seeing something deeper, something more fundamental. "You are late," he said, his voice a low, resonant rumble. "But you are here. That is what matters." John, who had faced down screaming crowds and aggressive journalists and the most powerful men in the music industry, found himself strangely disarmed. He had expected a charlatan, a con man, a guru peddling platitudes. He had not expected this quiet, unsettling presence that seemed to emanate from a place beyond the ordinary. He sat in the chair opposite the old man, the velvet upholstery soft beneath him, the flickering candlelight casting long, dancing shadows across the room. The rain lashed against the windows, a distant, rhythmic counterpoint to the silence that filled the suite. "You seek answers," the old man said, his voice a low rumble. "You seek a new path. You seek to understand what lies beyond the veil of what you call reality." John nodded. He had not spoken these words aloud to anyone, but the old man seemed to know. "The answers are not found in books," the old man continued, "nor in songs, nor in the applause of millions. The answers are found within, in the deepest, darkest corners of your own mind. And tonight, we will go there." The old man poured a small amount of the dark, viscous liquid from the bowl into two small, intricately carved wooden cups. The liquid was thick, almost syrupy, and its scent was complex, earthy, and strangely intoxicating. "Drink," the old man said, his dark eyes fixed on John. "It will open the doors of perception. It will allow you to see what you have been blind to." John hesitated. He had experimented with various mind-altering substances in his youth, but this felt different. This felt ancient, ritualistic, imbued with a power that transcended mere chemical alteration. But his curiosity, his relentless need to push boundaries, his desperate yearning for answers, outweighed his apprehension. He took the cup. He drank. The liquid was bitter, earthy, and strangely warm. It spread through his body like a slow, creeping fire, awakening senses he had not known he possessed. The flickering candlelight seemed to intensify, the shadows in the room deepened, and the scent of incense and spices became almost overwhelming. The room itself seemed to breathe, its walls expanding and contracting with a slow, rhythmic pulse. The old man began to speak, his voice a low, resonant rumble, weaving a tapestry of words that seemed to bypass John's conscious mind and speak directly to something deeper, something more primal. He spoke of ancient wisdom, of forgotten truths, of the interconnectedness of all things, of the illusion of separation, of the hidden dimensions that lay just beyond the veil of ordinary perception. As the elixir took hold, John felt his mind begin to expand, to unravel, to dissolve the boundaries between self and other, between past and present, between reality and illusion. He saw colors he had never seen before, heard sounds that resonated in the deepest corners of his being, felt emotions that transcended the limitations of language. He saw his own life unfold before him, not as a linear narrative, but as a swirling tapestry of interconnected moments, each one a thread woven into the larger fabric of his existence. He saw his childhood in Liverpool, the pain of his mother's death, the fierce bond with Paul, the rise of the Beatles, the screaming crowds, the relentless demands of fame, the dissolution of the band, the chaos of his lost weekend, the yearning for Yoko, the desperate search for peace. But he also saw something else, something that had been hidden beneath the surface of his conscious mind, something that had been lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to emerge. He saw the patterns, the repetitions, the unconscious choices that had shaped his life, the hidden motivations that had driven his actions, the unspoken fears that had dictated his decisions. The old man continued to speak, his voice a guiding presence in the swirling chaos of John's expanding mind, leading him deeper and deeper into the labyrinth of his own psyche. He spoke of the shadow self, the hidden aspects of personality that are suppressed and denied, the parts of ourselves that we are afraid to acknowledge. He spoke of the terrifying power of confronting one's own darkness, of embracing the totality of who one is, not just the light, but the shadow as well. John felt a profound sense of terror, a primal fear that threatened to overwhelm him. He wanted to pull back, to retreat into the familiar comfort of his conscious mind, to close the doors of perception that the elixir had opened. But the old man's voice, calm and steady, held him in place, urging him forward, deeper, into the terrifying beauty of his own hidden self. He saw his own anger, his own cruelty, his own capacity for destruction, not as something external, something to be blamed on others, but as something that resided within him, a part of his own being. He saw the ways in which he had hurt others, the ways in which he had betrayed himself, the ways in which he had allowed fear and ego to dictate his actions. And in that moment of profound, almost unbearable honesty, John Lennon felt his mind begin to alter. Not in a physical sense, not in a way that could be measured or quantified, but in a deeper, more fundamental way. The boundaries of his perception had been stretched, his understanding of reality expanded, his sense of self irrevocably changed. He was no longer just John Lennon, the Beatle, the rock star, the activist. He was something more, something less, something that transcended the limitations of language and identity. He was a man who had looked into the deepest, darkest corners of his own mind, and had found not just darkness, but also a terrifying, exhilarating truth. As the effects of the elixir began to slowly recede, leaving John shaken but profoundly changed, the old man picked up the deck of ancient, intricately illustrated cards. He shuffled them with a slow, deliberate rhythm, his dark eyes fixed on John. "The doors have been opened," he said, his voice a low rumble. "You have seen what lies within. Now, we will see what lies ahead." He laid out 3 cards on the polished wooden table, their images stark and unsettling in the flickering candlelight. The first card depicted a broken mirror, its fragments reflecting a distorted image of a human face. The second card showed a lone figure standing on a precipice, a vast, empty chasm stretching out before him. The third card revealed a single, burning candle, its flame flickering precariously in the darkness. The old man looked at the cards, then at John, his dark eyes piercing through the layers of his newly expanded perception. "The mirror," he said, his voice a low whisper, "represents the shattered self. The illusions you have clung to, the masks you have worn, the fragmented identities you have created. They will be broken, and in the breaking, you will see the true reflection of who you are." John felt a chill run down his spine. He had spent a lifetime constructing masks, creating identities, performing versions of himself for the world. The thought of those masks shattering, of being exposed in his raw, unadulterated truth, was both terrifying and exhilarating. "The precipice," the old man continued, "represents the choice. The path you have been on is ending. A new path awaits, but it is a path into the unknown, a leap of faith into the void. You will stand at the edge, and you will choose to step back into the familiar comfort of what you know, or to leap into the terrifying freedom of what you do not." John felt the weight of that choice, the profound implications of a decision that would shape the rest of his life. He had always been a man of choices, a man who had pushed boundaries, who had dared to leap into the unknown. But this felt different. This felt like a choice that would define not just his path, but his very being. "And the candle," the old man said, his voice dropping to a whisper, "represents the light. The fragile, flickering flame of your own truth. It will burn brightly, illuminating the darkness, guiding your way. But it will also attract shadows. Those who fear the light will seek to extinguish it. Those who cling to the darkness will seek to consume it. You will be a beacon, and you will be a target. John felt a profound sense of dread. He had always been a target, a man whose fame had attracted both adoration and hatred. But this felt different. This felt like a prophecy, a warning of a darkness that transcended the ordinary. The price of this knowledge, the old man said, his dark eyes fixed on John, is profound. You will see the world as it truly is, stripped of its illusions, its comforts, its convenient fictions. You will see the hidden connections, the underlying patterns, the terrifying beauty of the interconnectedness of all things. And once you have seen it, you can never unsee it. The veil has been lifted. The doors have been opened. Your mind has been altered. Forever. John felt a profound sense of awe, a terrifying exhilaration that transcended fear. He had sought answers, and he had found them. He had pushed boundaries, and he had broken through them. He had confronted his own hidden self, and he had found not just darkness, but also a terrifying, exhilarating truth. He was no longer just John Lennon, the Beatle, the rock star, the activist. He was something more, something less, something that transcended the limitations of language and identity. He was a man who had looked into the deepest, darkest corners of his own mind, and had found not just darkness, but also a terrifying, exhilarating truth. John Lennon left the Hawthorne Hotel as the first gray light of dawn began to break over the rain-swept city. He walked through the deserted streets of the Upper West Side, the rain washing over him, cleansing him, but unable to wash away the profound alteration that had occurred within his mind. He was shaken, profoundly changed, and haunted by a disturbing truth about the nature of reality, the limits of perception, and the terrifying power of confronting one's own hidden self in the dead of night. He never spoke publicly about the meeting. He never mentioned the old man, the strange elixir, the unsettling prophecies. It remained his private secret, a profound, almost mystical experience that he carried within him, a hidden wellspring of insight and understanding that would subtly, irrevocably alter the course of his future music and his future life. The Lost Weekend, which had been a period of creative stagnation and personal chaos, began to recede, replaced by a new sense of purpose, a new clarity of vision. The music he made in the years that followed, particularly the songs on Walls and Bridges and Double Fantasy, bore the unmistakable imprint of this transformation. The raw honesty of his earlier work was now infused with a new tenderness, a new vulnerability, a deeper, more profound understanding of love and loss, of the interconnectedness of all things. He began to see the world differently. The illusions he had clung to, the masks he had worn, the fragmented identities he had created, all of them had been shattered in that bizarre hotel meeting. And in the breaking, he had seen the true reflection of who he was, a complex, contradictory, deeply human being, capable of both light and shadow, of both creation and destruction. The old man's prophecy about the candle, about the light attracting shadows, proved to be chillingly accurate. John Lennon became a beacon, illuminating the darkness, guiding his way. But he also became a target. Those who feared the light sought to extinguish it. Those who clung to the darkness sought to consume it. The government surveillance, the deportation attempts, the relentless scrutiny of his private life, all of it intensified in the years that followed, a testament to the power of a voice that had become too clear, too honest, too profoundly unsettling for those who preferred the comfortable fictions of conventional reality. He found his way back to Yoko, their reunion a testament to the enduring power of a love that had been forged in the crucible of shared struggle and shared vision. He found his way back to his son, Sean, embracing the quiet domesticity of the Dakota, the daily, unremarkable miracle of being present for his son's childhood. He found his peace, a hard one, fragile peace, but peace nonetheless. A peace that had been forged in the crucible of lost innocence, forgotten dreams, and the terrifying weight of a past that refused to stay buried. The bizarre hotel meeting had not provided him with easy answers. It had not offered him a simple path to enlightenment. It had simply opened his mind, expanded his perception, and forced him to confront the terrifying truth of his own hidden self. And in that confrontation, he had found not just darkness, but also a terrifying, exhilarating truth. The influence of that bizarre hotel meeting, though never publicly acknowledged by John Lennon, wove itself into the fabric of his later life and worked like an unseen thread of destiny. Those closest to him, particularly Yoko Ono, noticed a subtle but profound shift in his demeanor, a new depth in his gaze, a quiet understanding that seemed to emanate from a place beyond ordinary experience. Yoko, who had always been attuned to the subtle energies that permeated John's creative and spiritual life, recognized the change. She saw the way he approached his music with a renewed sense of purpose, a deeper commitment to honesty and vulnerability. She saw the way he engaged with the world, with a new clarity of vision, a heightened awareness of the interconnectedness of all things. She understood that something profound had occurred, something that had unlocked a new dimension within him. The songs he wrote in the years that followed, particularly those on Double Fantasy, carried the unmistakable imprint of this transformation. The album was a declaration of domestic contentment, a celebration of ordinary life, a profound artistic statement about the value of love and family. But beneath the surface of its gentle melodies and tender lyrics, there was a new depth, a new understanding of the fragility of existence, the fleeting nature of happiness, the constant interplay of light and shadow that defines the human experience. He spoke of these things in interviews, not directly referencing the hotel meeting, but speaking in metaphors and allusions that hinted at a deeper, more profound understanding of reality. He spoke of the illusion of separation, of the interconnectedness of all things, of the importance of looking within to find the answers that the world so desperately sought outside. The old man's prophecy about the candle, about the light attracting shadows, proved to be chillingly accurate. John Lennon became a beacon, illuminating the darkness, guiding his way. But he also became a target. The government surveillance, the deportation attempts, the relentless scrutiny of his private life, all of it intensified in the years that followed, a testament to the power of a voice that had become too clear, too honest, too profoundly unsettling for those who preferred the comfortable fictions of conventional reality. He found his peace. A hard one, fragile peace, but peace nonetheless. A peace that had been forged in the crucible of lost innocence, forgotten dreams, and the terrifying weight of a past that refused to stay buried. A peace that had been deepened and enriched by the profound alteration of his mind that had occurred in that bizarre hotel meeting. He was 40 years old, and for the first time in longer than he could precisely remember, he felt like 40 was the beginning of something rather than the continuation of something that had already lasted too long. He had found his way back to himself, to his music, to his family, to a profound understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. He had found his peace. And in that peace, he had found a new kind of strength, a new kind of wisdom, a new kind of truth. New York City, 1980. The Dakota Building, that Gothic fortress on Central Park West, stood silent in the winter dark, its gargoyles watching the street below with their carved, impassive eyes. Inside, on the 5th floor, John Lennon was living a life that had been profoundly altered by a bizarre hotel meeting 6 years earlier. He was making plans for the future, talking about a tour, writing new songs, living in the ordinary, forward-moving logic of a life being actively lived. He was happy, genuinely, quietly, deeply happy. The peace he had found in the years of seclusion, the domestic quiet of bread and music and the daily, unremarkable miracle of being present for his son's childhood, all of it ended on a pavement on Central Park West on a Monday evening in December. The Hawthorne Hotel, the site of that bizarre meeting, was eventually demolished in the late 1980s, its grand, decaying facade giving way to a modern glass tower. The old man, the enigmatic guru, disappeared as mysteriously as he had arrived, leaving behind no trace, no record, no official acknowledgement of his existence. The strange elixirs, the unsettling prophecies, the profound alteration of John Lennon's mind, all of it became a whispered legend, a secret shared among a select few, a disturbing truth that defied conventional explanation. But the echo remains. The echo of a mind altered, a perception expanded, a truth confronted. The echo of a man who had looked into the deepest, darkest corners of his own psyche, and had found not just darkness, but also a terrifying, exhilarating truth. Yoko Ono, in the decades since John's death, has spoken about his spiritual journey, his relentless search for truth, his profound understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. She has spoken about the subtle shifts in his personality, the new depth in his gaze, the quiet understanding that seemed to emanate from a place beyond ordinary experience. She has never directly referenced the hotel meeting, but her words often hint at a profound, almost mystical experience that shaped his later life and work. Julian Lennon, in his own journey of understanding his father's complex legacy, has spoken about John's spiritual seeking, his relentless quest for answers, his profound understanding of the hidden dimensions of reality. He has often spoken about the other side of his father, the side that was not visible to the public, the side that was constantly pushing boundaries, constantly seeking truth, constantly confronting the limits of perception. New York City breathes. The world turns. The music plays. And in the silence between what was seen and what was unseen, between what was said and what was left unsaid, between the ordinary and the extraordinary, the most important question remains. What if the most profound transformation in John Lennon's life did not happen on a stage, or in a recording studio, or in the glare of public scrutiny, but in a secluded, opulent suite in a forgotten hotel on a rain-swept, desolate night, in a bizarre, hours-long meeting with a mysterious figure who offered him not just answers, but a profound, almost mystical alteration of his mind, leaving him haunted by a disturbing truth about the nature of reality, the limits of perception, and the terrifying power of confronting one's own hidden self in the dead of night?